Cam Weaver's a guy people know around here. I guess can you talk about the process of bringing him in?
He was working on the big dig. He didn't want to do that anymore, so I decided to come out here and train for a little bit. No, I mean, he was around Cam and me at Spoken, and he said he'd like the opportunity to come out and train a little bit, see where he's at, and we wanted the opportunity to sort of look at him and evaluate him, so we decided to bring him in. We wanted to get through the other set of players that we had in earlier, wanted to cut down a little bit, and so now we'll take a look at Cam and we'll see. Anytime you can maybe pick up a veteran guy who wants to be back in Seattle, but obviously he's got experience in the league, and we'll see if it's the right fit, if it makes sense, and if it makes sense, we'll do it, and if not, it's nothing's going to be lost by it.
Same thing kind of for Danny O'Rourke, a guy that you kind of know already.
Yeah, Danny, obviously I know from my days in Columbus. He's another guy who got let go by Columbus and, really didn't have a team. Felt he had some injury issues, but felt those were behind him and wanted an opportunity. And same thing, we wanted to get through the other group of players. And I said, okay, we'll give you opportunity when we come back to Seattle, and then we'll decide from there.
Fans might have noticed Parchemain's couple of goals down in Arizona. What else are you kind of seeing from him?
I mean, he's technically very good. He's pretty clean on the ball, and when he gets around the 18, he looks to beat people. Has a good ability to find himself a little bit of space and cause some problems and cause some danger. So we've played him up front for a few games. We wanted to look at him wide a little bit today. Probably look at him wide a little bit tomorrow, and see how we think that part of it fits as well.
We've asked you some version of this over the years, but when you have a sort of an English as second language guy like him, I mean, what do you have to do to make sure that he's understanding instruction?
Obviously Jimmy can speak French to him and, can get that across. So we just, made sure you got to talk a little slower. I mean, he does speak English. And so when we went over like our defending there between him and Zach, we sort of talked about it and, listen, you don't want to get caught here. And so we sort of walked through the example for him. But, he's a soccer player. He understands soccer. Soccer's, the same whether it's in English or German or Spanish or French. It's still the game, and it's still you got to defend and you got to attack. And when you don't have the ball, you're trying to win the ball back. And, all those principles are the same, and soccer players understand that.
Do you have any sort of timeline of when you'll start letting people go?
It's sort of a flexible timeline right now. We'll see. We'll maybe make some decisions before we go to Charleston again, and then obviously make the final decisions at Charleston. But there's some other things right now that we're doing and looking at, and so it's a very fluid situation. All those things affect each other, so it's not like, the thing you don't want to be doing is saying to somebody, well, right now, this is what we see, and you let them go, and then 2 days later something happens that changes it, and then you're trying to bring the guy back. So right now you just keep guys here, and as situations resolve themselves, then you make final decisions.
Are you starting to think about sending anybody out on loan at this point, or is it still too early for that?
No, that's all part of the fluidity of what we're trying to do right now and the decisions we're trying to make. Which guys are guys that we think can benefit from going on loan, how many minutes we see them playing with us. We've set up, I think we have a 9-game reserve schedule. It hasn't really been announced yet, but there's a 9-game reserve schedule. We've also set up games with most of the colleges, I think with Seattle U and with UW and Oregon State and stuff. So I think we've got like about 12 reserve games set at this point. So, it's like, who do we think is going to benefit from those 12 reserve games and being with us? Who's going to benefit from being out? Those are all things that we talk about almost on a daily basis.
What was appealing about Jalil that made you bring him in, and what have you seen from him since he's been here?
I mean, one of the things I've always liked about Jalil is just his attitude. His attitude and his concentration. You guys have talked to him. I mean, he's just an upbeat guy. And, when he trained with us before he went into the pros, we liked what we saw in that training. He got obviously picked by Chicago ahead of us because we drafted after them. But, he's alert. He's in tune to what's going on in the game. Physically, he has good qualities. He's got good speed. He can recover. He can win headers. So there's a lot of things that he has going for him. And in Chicago, he ended up playing right back. I mean, if he was in Chicago now and Lowell Palmer was there, maybe they'd be looking at him more at center back. And, then the question is, who does he beat out at that point? But we've always felt He can play right back. We know that, but we look at him more as a center back here.
Because of the way DeAndre plays, is it beneficial to have someone who has a little bit of right back experience that can play center back there?
Yeah, I mean, it helps. It helps because, ideally, if our game's flowing well, there's going to be times where we might look like we got three in the back. So with DeAndre going forward, and then having somebody who can play center back and can slide and has the pace that he can sit in that hole on the right-hand side and allows Marshall to stay in the middle. There's at times a benefit to that. Yeah.
Maybe you see it differently, but it seems like you have more guys on this team that have proven they can score 7-8 goals in the season, kind of throughout the attack. I mean, do you see it that way, having maybe more goal dangerous guys kind of throughout the roster than you've had before?
I mean, I've always been a coach where I think, it's all about how many goals we score as a team. I mean, I know I had Carlos Ruiz, and he was sort of a goal-scoring machine as an individual, and Montero obviously scored his fair share of goals, and Eddie Johnson has scored his fair share of goals. But, the year when we led the league in goals, it came from so many different sources. And I think when you're a team, if you can score goals from multiple sources, if your wide players can show that they can score goals, if your forwards are scoring goals, if you can get goals from midfield, get goals off set pieces, then you're going to score enough goals to win games and win important games. So I've never, in all my years of college too, I've rarely had that one guy who lights it up and is one of the top scorers in the country. We've always been teams that have scored goals from multiple sources because I think you're harder to break down, you're harder to figure out, and when everybody knows they got a chance to get a goal, everybody stays a little more involved and invested in the game.
Today was the first real taste of Seattle weather that some of the guys got. Did it affect them at all? How'd they feel?
Well, it was okay, a little bit of rain, got a little bit of cooler. I think yesterday helped. I thought our reaction to it today was much better than yesterday. So, it's just a matter of it is what it is. We know it could be like this on opening day, and, so we have to play, liquid sunshine.
Are Oxford and Zavaleta back now in full, or are you still
today they trained, and so we'll see. I don't know how much we'll push them in training tomorrow.
But Oxford's MRI didn't show anything serious?
No, just a slight bone bruise, but nothing with the MCL or anything like that, or the meniscus.
Thank you.
Okay, great.
Coach.
Thank you.
Look at the pace. In our goal. Absolutely sensational by the Sounders! Hey kids, come train like the first team. Join us this year at Sounders FC Youth Soccer Camps. Have fun and improve your skills. Meet players, make friends and learn from the best. Visit camps.soundersfc.com. Space is limited, so sign up today.